Hi, my name is Patrick, and I've been watching the coronavirus like you've been watching the coronavirus, and we're all nervous about it. So, what was kind of driving me crazy was that, you can, for the last couple of months, you see how China and Italy, and I'm from America, we're all starting to deal with this. They much more than America. I'm in Baltimore, and we just got like our first case today or a couple, yeah, well, yeah, today for the most part. When they're shutting down all the schools, they're doing all this stuff, and they're telling you to wash your hands. Wash your hands, wash your hands. And so you're watching China and Italy deal with it, and you see all these doctors and all these people dressed up in these hazmat uniforms, and the early onset, 15-20% of the people were dying from it, and the people that seem to be dying from it now are over 60 years old. But what I'm not hearing, what you're not hearing, is how are they treating these people? Like, what drugs are they treating these people? Like, how do they treat people? Like, how does this get better if there's no known cure? There's nothing to fix this. It's like, well, what are they doing when they get to the hospital? Just dressing up crazy and throwing holy, water on them. Like, how are they getting better? So they must be treating them some way. So I started to look into, like, what are they giving these people? How is that going? And the concept that I'm trying to figure out is like, why don't we just build up our immune system now prior to getting it? So that way, if we come in contact with someone who has the coronavirus, like, wouldn't it make sense that our bodies, our immune system was built up enough that we can fight it off or start fighting it off or handle it versus get it, go to the hospital, be 17, 20 days, into the viral infection, and now, be in God's hands trying to get cured with these unknown things that they're using, right? So it's like, I want to know what works, what are the antibodies, what are they using? I want to start taking these things now so I don't get the virus, long story short. And if I get it, maybe it'll just be like a common cold, and I'll, won't be a big deal for me. That's what I'm trying to do. So what we're going to look at now is like what I found. So everything I found will be on the link here on this YouTube channel below, and all the .coms and all that kind of crap. So I'm going to see if I can just grab this. Yeah, I can grab it. I wasn't sure if I could or should or what was going on with that. That's just a little magic, baby. Look at me running around. So long story short, the coronavirus treatment, I'm on a website that basically what I've done is I've read this and read this and read this, and I've read a bunch of other things, and I've taken the results of it and I've kind of just made it simpler so I can digest it. So we're like in a Word document here. So by January 2nd, 2020, 41 people were admitted to the hospital, and in Wuhan, there, the city of Wuhan, and they came up with that strand NCOV. And the most common symptoms of the illness were fever. So 98% of the people had fevers. And their blood counts, their white blood cell counts were very low, which is Spanish for their immune system was low. So on admission, when they brought them in, they all had with doing a CT image scan, they all had chest abnormalities, right? So all the patients had pneumonia. So I'll say that again. All the patients had pneumonia. So the therapy that they're using and the drugs that they're using are similar to the drugs, or actually are the same drugs that they treat HIV patients with, which are protease drugs, right? So what they do is they stop the antibodies, the bacterial infection, the anti whatever this thing is, this microbe, so to speak, that this foreign invader, they're trying to stop the enzymes from, this virus replicating in your body, just like HIV. They want to stop the HIV virus, to be, in a sense, growing in your body. So they call those proteases, right? So I found that there are some foods that are natural protease inhibitors because these things have been around, these viral strains have been around for millions and millions of years. So nature has adapted over millions and millions of years. And there's actually several of them. So there's actually a lot of foods and herbs we can take simply right now to boost our white blood cell counts, right? And start these, protease inhibitors in our cell structure right now. So, if everybody's got pneumonia, basically, then we kind of want to start there. Common sense just tells us, okay, let's pretend like we have pneumonia, right? So, long story short, the elderly are more susceptible to pneumonia, and they have a death rate as high as 20%. So if someone over 60-ish years old gets pneumonia, their death rate is basically 20%. That's on the high side. If they get an acute pneumonia, death rate is 20%. So we're kind of dealing with that now with this strand of virus, this coronavirus. So of course they say wash your hands, get vaccinated, avoid people with colds and flu. It's like the same thing that we're hearing now, like use common sense, get away from people, stand far away from people, don't breathe their air. So every pneumonia treatment basically will have some sort of antiviral, antibiotic, or antifungal medication in the infection. So they'll treat them as with antibiotics, antifungals, and antivirals, and like a herbal, well, not an herbal, a pharmaceutical cocktail that's going to have all those things in there. So one of the ways we want to build up our white T cells count, which is basically our immune system, is astragalus, ashwagandha, and ginseng. Like these are the top 3 white cell builders that you can put in your mouth and build your immune system, fast, easy, and cheap. Astragalus, ashwagandha, and ginseng. So I was after like these inhibitors, like what can I find out there in Chinese medicine that's going to act like a protease builder, right? So what's out there in the herbal market that's a protease builder, but specifically designed to hinder pneumonia, right? Chinese medicine for pneumonia. So what I found was ginger or turmeric tea and fenugreek tea are very good for pneumonia. Basically, what you're trying to do is, in a sense, wet your whistle, meaning like clean out your throat as much as possible. This coronavirus gets in your throat first and starts kind of there and works its way down into your lungs, basically. So some of the Chinese herbs that we're finding out there, and of course I'm not going to be able to pronounce all of these correctly, but what I've done is I've taken the Chinese herb and I've broken that down into like the Americanized version of that. So we can, like honeysuckle, for example, and for Cynthia powder is this particular herb here, and the pronunciation in Chinese is, yin jiao san, for example. So ma xinggan is apricot kernel or gypsum or licorice, basically in American. So we've got these herbs here, and cinnamon, for example, wild ginger, dried ginger, panela, white peony root, shashandra berry, and licorice, right? So the Chinese medicine for the last 2,000 years have been using licorice, shashandra berry, white peony, dried ginger, and cinnamon, and for Cynthia and honeysuckle to heal pneumonia, right? So I kind of went over like, well, what are the American approaches to pneumonia? And they're turmeric, garlic, ginger, holy basil, fenugreek, pylorisi root, and camphor, and licorice. They also have sesame seeds and honey, right? So the American herbs to pneumonia are the turmeric, garlic, and ginger, obviously, and the honeys. And so it's like, okay, so we talked about the way the Chinese would help in pneumonia. Let's look at antibiotics. So it's like we kind of said earlier, they're going to basically have some sort of medical approach that's going to have an antiviral, antibiotic, and antifungal approach, right? So now we're looking at the antibiotic approach, which is garlic and honey and ginger, echinacea, golden seal, clove, oregano, right? So those are great I think to me, a lot of those are also antibiotic as well. I mean, antiviral as well. They kind of cross over to antibiotic and antiviral. So, antibiotic list: garlic, honey, ginger, echinacea, golden seal, clove, oregano. Those are antibiotics, natural antibiotics. And then we get into more of an advanced list where you're going to find these in like oil form. So aloe, echinacea, eucalyptus, garlic, ginger, grapeseed extract, honey, juniper, licorice, sage, usnea, wormwood. These are all antibiotics as well, and you'll find this is like a little stronger list than the list up here. So antiviral herbs. Now let's kind of get into the antiviral herbs. So oregano, which was, I believe, up above, sage, basil, holy basil, fennel, garlic, lemon balm, peppermint, rosemary, echinacea, sambucus, elderberry basically, licorice, astragalus, ginger, ginseng, dandelions. I think that's it. Licorice, colloidal silver, elderberry, echinacea, garlic, green tea, licorice, olive leaf. So olive leaf is one of the leaves that basically has these substances block the production of enzymes that allow viruses to replicate. So there's like nature doing that, antiviral, right? So antiviral, we're going back to the antivirals here. So let's pay attention to where we are. We're on antivirals. So I'm giving you all the antivirals, that are out there that you can start taking now and add them to, your list. So I figured what are the best foods on the planet? Like, what can we take as far as those are kind of like medicinal herbs, so to speak, pau d'arco, St. John's wort. By the way, I take all of these herbs. I mean, I literally take all of these herbs. I don't take colloidal silver. I take elderberry. I take echinacea. I don't really take garlic. I don't drink green tea all the time, but I drink it enough. I take licorice. I take olive leaf. I take pau d'arco. I take St. John's wort. I eat sweet potatoes like crazy. See anything else I take. I do take dandelions in a pill form, but not crazy. Take ginseng all the time, ginger all the time, astragalus all the time, licorice all the time, sambucus, which is elderberries. I don't take elderberry all the time, but I take it probably once or twice a month. If I feel a little cold coming on, I'll take I take elderberries. They really do block antivirals. Echinacea all the time, rosemary all the time, peppermint. I don't take peppermint too much in my mouth. I'll eat peppermint though. I'll put like peppermint. I have peppermint growing in the house. I'll put that in my tea and stuff like that all the time. Lemon balm all the time. Fennel, not so much at all. Holy basil, not so much at all. Basil, not so much at all. I have basil growing in the house. When we cook, we use fresh basil. Sage, not really at all. Oregano, all the time. So I take these things all the time, and I don't, for my Lyme disease, and I just don't get sick. Now, this protease, I'm trying to find like food inhibitors, and it seemed that nature has like so many proteases, things that stop viral infections from that strand from growing. I mean, I was amazed. So the sweet potato was like one of the biggest ones, was one of the strongest ones. It has this trypsin, which is like, really, that is what the protease is. The trypsin is like the chemical that we're looking for here that stops a viral infection from spreading, so to speak. And the sweet potato is such a powerful plant that it's the only, or I guess vegetable, it's the only food source on the planet that they cannot genetically modify it. It will not break down its strand. They can't beat a sweet potato. Sweet potato is the only food that the big M cannot genetically modify and play with its God-given DNA strand. It will not be broken. So that tells you that the sweet potato is like not a joke, because man cannot break its DNA strand. It has broken every strand of food source on the planet, but not the sweet potato. So the foods that act as virus inhibitors are black-eyed pea, peas, moringa, soybean, chickpea, bromelain, which is an extract from the pineapple extract. I take bromelain all the time, chickpeas in my salads. I don't really mess with soybean too much. Moringa, I love moringa. I mess with it here and there. It's in one of the herbs supplements that I take.